Hi everyone! Today, I'm gonna share with you my top 5 mechanical watches for under $200 for those looking to get their feet wet in the world of watches. I've been in this hobby for just about 2 years, and while I'm hardly an expert, I did learn quite a few things about watches, and more importantly, I've learned about what I like and what I don't like. Close family and friends ask me for advice about what cool mechanical watch to get on a budget, and I usually recommend these watches I'm about to show you. For these top 5, I wanted to share with you watches that I've personally handled. I don't want to recommend something I haven't experienced for myself. So without further ado, here are my top 5 mechanical watches for under $200. First up, we have the Seiko 5. I mean the old ones, not the new Seiko 5 Sports. These old Seiko 5s come in a lot of different designs, depending on your taste, and they're all powered by the 7S26 movement. Some are harder to find than others, but thankfully, my favorite is not that hard to find. My favorite design is the SNKL 45, and I was able to get it for just around $80. For those looking into buying their first automatic watch, you can't go wrong with a Seiko 5. The case is made with stainless steel, it has a day and date complication, and it's got an in-house movement. The Seiko brand has been making watches since 1881, and they introduced the world's first quartz watch in 1969. When it comes to street cred, you can't go wrong with Seiko. On the downside though, these Seiko 5s have entry-level characteristics. The crystal is hardlex, which is not as scratch-resistant as sapphire. The old 7S26 movement is also non-hacking and non-winding. The bracelet is made with folded links, which will feel cheap to some people, but personally, I'm fine with it. And finally, if you have huge fingers, the tiny crown is going to be difficult to wind. Having said all of those things, I love my SNKL 45. When I first bought it, it was supposed to be a gift for someone else, but I ended up keeping it because I loved it so much. I love the black dial with a hint of chocolate brown, along with the cheeky red seconds hand. The 37mm case size is just perfect for my 6 1/4 inch wrist. The case style is also very similar to more expensive Seiko watches like the SARB 035 and some Grand Seiko watches. Up next, we've got the Orient Bambino, the classic dress watch that you can wear to the office or wear to a formal event. They come in different designs and different dial colors. The Bambino line is known for its domed dial and domed mineral crystal. They usually come with leather straps, but there are some with stainless steel bracelets. Orient has been making watches since 1901, and they are a trusted brand when it comes to value. With Seiko slowly moving up market, Orient seems to be taking its place as the next king of budget watches. When I started buying watches on my own, I started with this Orient Bambino small seconds. The champagne dial reminded me so much of the vintage Omega Seamasters, but with modern reliability. When I went to Osaka, I got my second Orient Bambino, this time with a blue dial and a steel bracelet. The biggest downside that you have to look out for is that domed mineral crystal. Don't get me wrong, it's beautiful. However, mineral crystal is not as scratch resistant as sapphire, and it's not easily as fixable as acrylic crystal. And because it's domed so high, you really have to watch out where you're going so you don't knock it on doorknobs by accident. I dropped mine after opening it and I got a small scratch after. The second downside is the odd number lug width. The Bambino has a lug width of 21mm, and aftermarket straps are usually sold at even number lug widths. However, I think it won't be a big problem anymore as more strap companies are providing odd number lug width straps, like Strapsco. So if you're the type who prefers classy, dressy watches, go for the Orient Bambino. I really like the style, and I'm seriously tempted to get a third one, which is the 36mm version that was released sometime back in 2019. My third watch is from China. If you think Chinese watches are no good, let me change your mind with the Seagull 1963. This Seagull 1963 is a reissue of the Chinese Air Force mechanical chronograph. Where can you get an original design, fully mechanical chronograph with a gorgeous movement like this at below $200? When I saw this watch, I was immediately attracted to the dial. In a world where people say made in China watches are no good, I was enamored by this proudly Chinese look of this watch. I grew up reading Laozi comic books in my grandparents' house. Even though I didn't understand anything, I was just looking at the pictures. The color scheme of this dial somehow reminded me of those times. The second thing I found really attractive about this watch was the movement behind it, the ST19. How beautiful is that? The ST19 is the same movement used by some pricier micro brands that produce chronograph watches like Laurier, Baltic, Haim, Mercer, and many more. As for the downsides though, after wearing it and winding it every morning, my fingertips started to hurt. And that's how I realized I cannot survive with a manual wind as a daily watch. For some of you that might be okay, but not for me. Now, I just use my manual wind watches on special occasions. Another downside is that the price went down by a lot after I bought mine in 2019. Back then, it was being sold for around $300, and then now the prices have gone down to below $200. There's also a lot of mystery surrounding what counts as an authentic Seagull 1963. And it looks like the majority of us that have bought one do not have the authentic Seagull brand. It seems that while the movement inside is Seagull, the manufacturer of the case is not Seagull. Confused? I linked the investigative video by Just One More Watch, which explains it below. At this point though, whether or not it's an authentic Seagull manufactured 1963 chronograph, I don't think watch enthusiasts mind anymore. If you want a chronograph like this Seagull 1963, but don't want to have the same thing everyone else has, there are other available color options and designs. They might not be below $200 though. The fourth watch on this list is a watch from Russia. When I was searching for an automatic dive watch with 200 meters water resistance on a budget with brand heritage, I found the Vostok Amphibia. In 1967, the Vostok watch factory created the first Amphibia for the use of the Russian Navy. The requirements were stringent, of course, and they couldn't use any foreign patents. Vostok had to design everything from scratch, and it had to be inexpensive yet robust for missions. Here we have the Vostok Amphibia. It has a heavily domed 3mm acrylic crystal, which is designed to compress into the watch the deeper into the water it goes. This accomplishes the 200 meters water resistance requirement with lower cost materials, whereas other watch brands use thick, flat sapphire crystals. It has a wobbly crown, which people seem to see as a sign of poor quality, but was actually designed for the purpose of protecting the stem when it gets hit, so as to not damage the movement. For the watch snobs that only want in-house movements, the Vostok Amphibia has an in-house movement. While it's a cool watch, it has its drawbacks. It is $75 after all. The Vostok Amphibia really does look like a toy, especially when you put it side by side with other dive watches. Some people like that. They think it's quirky. The bezel is non-clicking and is bidirectional, which you can accidentally adjust without realizing. unlike other more expensive dive watches that have a clicking unidirectional bezel. Also, the non-quick set date is a pain. If you're lazy like me, I would just give up and wear it with the wrong dates. And finally, the bracelet is absolutely horrible. It looks like this cheap, shiny, chrome-plated mess, and I heard it's a hair puller. I recommend getting it replaced straight away. I had the Vostok Amphibia for a few days, and while to me it's the best proper dive watch for under $200, the toy look makes it hard for me to pair with. However, I am toying with the idea of modding watches, and I heard that the Vostok Amphibia is a really good place to start learning. For the final item on this list, I've got this Corgeut Flieger from AliExpress. This Flieger design comes from 1940s Germany, where pilots needed watches that were easy to read. The Type A has a classic dial with large numerals from 1 to 11, and instead of a 12, it has a triangle with 2 dots. The Type B dial has big minute numerals from 5 to 55 on the chapter ring, a small sub-chapter ring with hour numerals, also with a triangle for the 12. The triangle was so that it would be easy for pilots to find where the 12 was at a quick glance. Both dial designs are available on AliExpress. I got the Type A design because I preferred a less cluttered dial. The Corgeut Flieger was the first watch I got from AliExpress. It opened my eyes to the world of very affordable watches with stainless steel and sapphire crystals, specs you can't get from other watch brands at the same price point. Right now though, it's largely homage watches, which is great if you're looking to try out designs of more expensive watches, but not everyone is comfortable wearing an homage watch. Thankfully, I think there are more original designs starting to come out on AliExpress. For this Flieger though, there's no single watch brand that owns this design, so for me it's not a homage or a replica, but let me know what you think in the comment section. I usually don't like sterile dials, but I'm happy with this one because the original ones in the 1940s didn't have any branding on it. The main downside though, this particular one I got, if I hand wind it, something later on in the day will get stuck and it stops working until I pull and push the crown. However, as long as I don't hand wind it, it works perfectly. There you have it, my top 5 mechanical watches for under $200. To my watch enthusiast friends, comment below what watches you usually recommend for under $200. To the viewers who are just getting into the hobby, I hope this video was helpful for you. Let me know if you have further questions on any of the watches mentioned. If you'd like to see more of my videos, hit that subscribe button. Thanks a lot and bye for now.